Okay, so far we haven't really done anything that's that awesome or impressive. We're gonna do that in a little bit, but what I want to point out is the fact that we're actually modeling these things accurately now is what is so important. So if we wanted to do something that was, say, like a hardware piece that exists maybe 3 inches in from each corner, okay, you'll see why in a little bit, but 3 inches in from each corner, we need to do this again, but we just reduce the value by 3 inches. So, but before we do that, let's make sure that this system works for multiple panels. So we'll plug in the overall system and then start taking a look at what it looks like. So let's preview that overall surface. It looks like we're still only getting the thing. Let's see, we've got 18 surfaces coming out. We have 18 groups for edges. So we need to right click and graft that system. So now it's that. Now we got that. That's good. And let's take a look at this error we're getting. Let's see. V domain is singular. U domain is singular. Let's see. Um, so I think what's happening is, let's take a look at the data. No, it's repeating correctly. Hang on a moment. This is a little unexpected. All right. Well, hey guys, we're gonna do this kind of a different way. So yeah, like I said before, and I've said many times, like sometimes a pathway doesn't really pan out. I didn't expect this at all. I don't really know what's going on. I think it has something to do with how the data is structured in the tree. But I have another idea for how we can accomplish this, and it might actually be a little simpler. So let me put some of this stuff aside, and let's go back to that one panel. So right now, this is like a pathway we tried. I'm going to keep it. Don't ever really delete anything that you've tried, so you have a record of what you have tried. But I'm going to make it red so that I know it's not really working out. All right, so back to our one panel. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do curves, and I'm going to offset the curves, but I'm going to offset them in the direction of the center point of my panel, which actually in the 3D case might turn out a little better for me. So let's go to, let's find the tool we're going to use first. So we're going to go to transform, and we're going to use move. That's important because offset is essentially moving each curve, right, to a new location when you're looking at it in Grasshopper. So we're going to use move, and we're going to move towards the center point of the surface. So we're going to go to surface analysis. We're going to use area to find that center point. Okay, so we know what we're going to move is going to be the edges of our surface. So we're going to go to surface analysis, and we're going to pull in deconstruct brep. It's going to be that, the edges of our surface. Oh, sorry, that's right, our one panel. And I'm going to, oh, sorry, I totally forgot to bring in that little surface thing, so I'm going to do that now. So that way I can just replug from the singular system to the overall system. Okay, so let's do that. So we've got the whole system. Now we're working on one panel.
So we need the surface too?
Yeah, it's going to help you just switching back and forth between the two. So, okay, so we know the geometry we're going to move is going to be this surface. And right now it's kind of moving it up in the z direction, a value of, I think it defaults to 10. So we're going to change that. We're going to change it using, under vector and vector, we're going to use amplitude. And it's been a while since you've seen this one, so I'm going to pull this one back in and give you some instructions again. Vector, vector. So amplitude, if you recall, is going to ask us for the base vector, and it's going to ask us for the numerical value. Oh, you know what? Sorry, we're not moving the surface. We're moving the edges. My bad. These edges. So the vector we're going to generate using also under vector, we're going to do vector 2-point. Okay, and we're going to go from the midpoint of each panel, edge, to the midpoint of the panel. So that means I need to take the edges and I need to find the midpoint of those edges. So I'm going to go to curve analysis and I'm going to do point on curve. So when I plug in that, it defaults to 0.50, which is the midpoint. And so I'm going to go from the midpoint to the center point of the surface that's here. And just so you guys can see what this is doing real quick, I'm going to show you the vectors. So let's go to display, vector. I'm going to go to vector display. And I'm going to, the anchor point is going to be these edges. And this is going to be, oh, wait, hang on. Vector to preview. Hang on. That. Okay. So that's what it's doing. It's going from the outer edge midpoint toward the middle point of the midpoint of the surface, the center point of the surface. Okay, that's important. So now that's going to be our vector. We need to see how it's already starting to offset those curves on the inside.
Yep.
Right? We need to set a value for what we're going to offset it. So just like we used up here to find 1 inch, in this case I'm going to do the same thing. So we're going to offset it 1 inch in. Okay? And we can reconstruct based off of this as well. There's kind of an easier way to reconstruct it. How would you guys reconstruct this? And I want to first point out what the problem is when you go to the corners, you have these lines overlapping. Any clever ideas? No? Okay. So what I'm going to do is rather than trying to trim those and then having information, data that I need to get rid of, right? You never want to have to get rid of selective data if you can avoid it, right? In Grasshopper, it's always better to just construct new data. So I find it to be better to just construct new data. So what I'm going to do is let's go to intersect, and we're going to go to physical, and we're going to do curve. Okay, so what this is going to ask for is your first list of curves and your second list of curves. So if I plug in geometry to both, it should show me the intersection, but it's not, because it's doing all 4 curves as first and then all 4 curves as second. Hang on, let's not do that. Not curve. Let's use multiple curves. Sorry. So we're going to go to G, and yeah, there it is. Multiple curves. So under intersect physical, it's this one right here called multiple curves. Oops. So what that did for us is it found the intersection event for all 4 of these curves in its own little package. Okay, that's very important. That is in its own little package on its own surface. So we have the list of points here, and if we were to, for instance, go back to surface and try and create, say, a 4-point surface, we could do that. Or we could create a surface from points. I wonder if that would work better here. Grid of points. Boom. Number of points in U direction. Interpolate. Nah, let's not worry. Let's not worry about that. So we're going to use index of first intersection. Trying to think down the road. Well, let's just plug it in and see how what we need to change. So let's.
Surface.
Yes, it's a 4-point surface under surface freeform. So I'm going to go to tree. And actually, we're going to have to do this. Let's do this on the overall system so we don't screw it up. Okay. So we really want to understand what's happening so we don't make mistakes here. So like what you're seeing is that this information is getting all screwed up because you have all these points happening around this corner. So let's graft this and take a look at the overall system. It looks like for the most part it's keeping it pretty clean. All of our intersection events are happening at the corners, which is good.
Trying to get that.
And then what we come to is our points are listed out like this. So we have zeros, ones, twos, and threes, right? Those are going to make up our new surfaces. However, if we were to try and do something simple, like with the tree function, if we were to do like explode tree, right, we're going to get information that is still packaged in groups of 4. Okay, that's important to know. So the fact that it's breaking it out into just those singular groups of 4 means that that's not what we want. What we want is each index of 0 separately to be plugged into each A input for a surface. So the unfortunate part / fortunate part is that we have to go to list item and grab each one individually. We're only doing quadrilaterals, so that's fine. So we're going to do a list item for 0, 1, 2, and 3. That's 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to plug this points list to each one. We're going to reroute that back into surface 4 point. And then we've just created an hourglass. So who knows why this happened? Right, because the top 2 points, like when it organizes the points value for a rectangular surface, it orders it radially. So your bottom edge is a different direction than your top edge. Okay, so we actually need to take the top 2, I believe, and reverse them. There we go. So let me turn some of this extra stuff off back here. And we're just taking a look at our surface now. And the original surfaces are here. Okay. What questions do you have? So it looks like in terms of complexity, this wasn't really any simpler.
Thank you.
But we did manage to, I think, get us the right information with minimal effort. Okay, so we went from this to this. Okay. All right, now I'm going to stop the video here, and we're going to move into the thing that I was trying to do this video for, which is getting those 3-inch marks, which is basically the same thing, actually. I don't have to do anything different. Let's just copy this group, copy and paste, and instead of recreating a 4-point surface, right, we just want these 4 corner points, and I'm just going to change this numerical value to 3 instead. And I guess the other thing is I don't want it to be on the overall surface, because if I do it on the overall surface, well, yeah, if I do it on the overall surface, then that 1-inch value is not actually going to be 1 inch. It's going to be 2 inches once I input 3. So if I want 3 inches from the edge of the glazing panel, then I need to start from the interior panel, which is going to be this. Okay, so now these are exactly 3 inches from the corners, or from the edges, actually. Okay, what questions do you have? Okay, now, I want to recap something. that you guys need to kind of forever be thinking about clever solutions. Like, there is no one or two ways to do anything. Okay? I just did what I was going to do, like the same. Basically, this will work. There's something in the data tree that I can't quite find while I'm on the spot right now. But, like, we could sit here and just do this a whole bunch of different ways all day long. Okay? Like, it really just, it's never ending. So be aware of that, and just kind of, if you ever run into a snag, don't beat your head against a wall to try and correct that snag. Maybe there's just another way to do it, and oftentimes you might find a simpler way to do it.